Hi everybody, it is Alison Dorrant coming to you from my kitchen studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I finally have my ocean paper around the world palette. So this is what it looks like. I love the quality of these paints. I love these colors. I was asked by someone in Australia who would like to invest in these paints if I could just do a quick swatch of the colors. So I normally don't like doing swatches, but to be honest, I did this swatch of the Around the World palette. Again, this is from the company called theoceanpaper.com in Princeville, Kauai. And I believe they're moving studios. Before you would order from them, their customer service has been really challenging lately. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm not affiliated with them. I do love their paints, but I did have some communication challenges where it was about over 3 months to get my palette. So it can be very challenging, and just that heads up, but their paints are wonderful. So this palette exercise I found so relaxing, and when someone had asked if I would do a swatch and a review, you know, this isn't going to be so much a review, but I took the time to go through all the colors, and I am so happy with the way I feel now about sitting down with this palette, just knowing the names and knowing a little bit more about what they look like. So I'm using Arches watercolor paper. It's a little bit more expensive, but I know for video and for this exercise, I really want to do the paints justice and have a really good watercolor background for them. So this is Arches. It is cold pressed, and it is fine grain 140-pound paper. This is 12 inches by 16 inches. In Canada, I paid $99 Canadian for this block. So this was a block of 20 sheets, and this is where I'm going to get started. This one was also done with Arches watercolor paper. And I love right now just having this, instead of, you know, with the little names written on the side here. So this one is Silk Gray. Over time, the paint actually covers their marking. And so this is just a really good exercise before I dive in and really get into these paints. And like I said, it was just a relaxing activity. So I am pretty loose when I do my swatches, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started and use this as my guide because all of the names are written on here and I don't have to pick up each paint during this video. So I'm going to try and do another review as well of a different company, not so much a review again, but just the swatching. I'm going to bring in my camera a little bit here. There we go. And I'm gonna just start. So this first one here is titanium white. Another common white is called zinc white. And of course, this won't show up very well on my white paper on camera. So I'm just gonna dive into Sagebrush yellow. So this one here, Sagebrush yellow. And it reminds me of another company, a Canadian company called Beam Paints, and it reminds me of their butter yellow. So this one is called Sagebrush yellow, and it's a really light, kind of a Titan buff mixed with, again, a bit of a buttery yellow. And what I like to do is create these little sheets, which I can collage later. I can use as a background for paintings. I just love how the colors end up looking really appealing on here. So when I want to get the paint off my brush when I'm doing these swatch exercises, I just add it in a really loose way on a sheet of paper. This is 90-pound Canson XL watercolor paper, so it's a more affordable, lighter weight paper, and just a great way not to put paint, not to dirty your water too quickly or put paint down the drain. Next color I'm going to go with is Naples yellow light. So the third one in from the top, Naples yellow light. And it is a gorgeous light yellow hue. I love that. And I'm gonna dip into my Dandelion yellow. That name just makes sense. Look at how bright that is. And I have an idea for what I'm gonna do after I do this swatch exercise. And I think I'm probably gonna cut up some of my swatches and put them on a ring, like a little kind of a key ring. I have some ideas. And I'm gonna do the next one, which is Mustard Deep. It really does look like mustard. Beautiful color. I just love colors, so this one is a deep yellow. When I put my paints on, I put on a lot of pigment. That's just the way I paint. You can see my little sheet here. I'm just adding in that color wherever I feel. And if my sheet's filling up, I'll add it on the other one. And then next to the deep yellow is the lemon ochre. So you can just see these colors are really high quality. They're beautifully pigmented. This one's raw sienna. Raw sienna is a neutral color that I use a lot. So when I paint, I love to put the bright colors next to neutrals like whites, grays, beiges, Titan buffs, browns. There's so many neutrals. Now we're gonna go on to our next row, but before I do, I just wanna show you the names. So again, we skipped the Titan white. And next to that is the Sagebrush yellow. And then Naples yellow light, Dandelion, mustard deep, deep yellow, lemon ochre, raw sienna. So we're moving on to the peaches, the oranges. We're still in sort of the warm color range. This one is called Sandstone. So when I do swatches, I don't really overthink what the swatch looks like. I just get the color down and I don't worry about my handwriting. You know, years ago I would have wanted my handwriting to look really pretty, but this is just a great exercise. It's meditative and it's calming. So this one is Sandstone. This one is called Iris, this gorgeous bright orange, which is in the second row from the top. And then we have Clementine, which is sort of it's a great kind of fleshy color. I probably have a little bit of the iris mixed in. And then we have one of my favorite colors. This one is called Burnt Rose. I really love this color. I use this color in a lot of my paintings. This one is called Mollusk, M-O-L-L-U-S-K, Mollusk. Sort of like a pale pink almost. And then next to that is Wildflower, which is another color I use quite often. It's more like a light burnt orange. And then this one here, this really bright orange is Fire Coral. It's absolutely beautiful. I love to pair this color with royal blue, which would be almost like a complementary color. Orange and blue sitting across from each other on the color wheel. And then French Vermilion. Vermilion is a common name for this sort of reddish orange. Okay, and then I'm going to probably start bringing the sheet over a little bit. So isn't this little sheet just a work of art in itself? It's really, really beautiful because it's so loose, and I'm just gonna see if I can take you guys out again. There we go. So excuse my positioning and sort of the way I am painting and showing you the swatch. We have beautiful weather here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It's unusually warm, and even though there's hardly any ice, I found it yesterday and I bailed. I was walking the dog, I was right in front of my house, and I just thought, oh, it's so beautiful, I want to go a little bit longer. And I was crossing the street on the only patch of ice, and my footing went out from underneath me, and so I have I fell on my right hand, which I'm painting with, and it's very, very bruised today, but to be honest, I'm just so grateful I didn't break anything. Okay, now I'm starting to detract. Okay, that was red ochre right here. So I'm grateful for my bone health because I am surprised I didn't break anything. Okay, this is probably the color that gives me the most dopamine, that feel-good hormone neurotransmitter when I look at it. This is called Opera Rose, and I know that company, Daniel Smith Watercolours, I believe they call it Opera Pink. It very much looks similar. It's this gorgeous neon pink. And then next to that is called French Clay. So this one here, this is going to be a great neutral that can be paired next to any neon. And it's just a warmer color. And then Burnt Sienna Dark. So we have the raw sienna, which is up here in the top right corner. And this one, that's another really great neutral. And next to the Burnt Sienna Dark, we have Potter's Pink. Another really good neutral. I could just see putting down this bright neon, this fire coral orange next to that one in a painting. Let's see if I can get through this video without sidetracking too much. I do not usually do swatching because I'm impatient and I love to just paint. I'm like, why wouldn't you just like paint instead of like learn about the names and, you know, swatch colors? I just did not get it. And so funny that I haven't been practicing what I preach, which is doing watercolor for enjoyment and relaxation and as a form of meditation. And so this is a great way for me to get back into it. So this is called Night Dune, next to Quinacridone Magenta, right here. And then this is French Vermilion, but we're going into a deeper, brighter, more of a blue red, I suppose, a cooler red. And it's called Pyrrole Red. And I have a note in here that I may have swapped out this color with Silk Gray. I'm not too sure. So don't hold me directly to this palette. I believe the Ocean Paper does their best to have the exact colors in these big palettes, but every now and then they run out of a color and they'll swap out the colors. Okay, so we've done some of those warm orange, yellow, pink, red hues. Now we're going into ash blue, ultramarine deep, cerulean blue, Prussian blue, one of my favorite dark colors, ultramarine light, overcast like an overcast day, Seafarer Blue and Azure Blue. So we'll start doing those ones. And I really hope you're getting something out of this video, because this is just usually not my style. This like calm swatching. Hopefully you can't hear my dishwasher in the background, but it's fairly quiet. So this is called Ash Blue, which I am not cleaning my water right now, so it's not really true to the ash that I probably should honor. That's more of a purple, actually. You know what? I am gonna, because this is a swatch video, I'm just gonna quickly, you know what? I'm gonna have a drink and use my drinking water. Why not? So let's just do that ash blue again. So wow, that's so different. So yeah, I had been cleaning my brush, but gotta kind of stay true to that. And then grab my little side paper and just do these kind of loose line marks. Dip in my drinking water and go to the ultramarine deep. I know I have family in town today that are coming any time now, so I'm just gonna try and get this video in. So that's ultramarine. And now we're gonna go to the cerulean blue, which is a beautiful, beautiful blue. And then this dark Prussian blue. Love that color. One of my favorite colors to wear is navy, and it's interesting. I love navy blue. I'd rather navy instead of black or like a dark green. And so funny, because a lot of colors I love to paint with, I don't necessarily like in my wardrobe. However, this Prussian blue, if it's a bit darker, I really do like that. And next to that is ultramarine light. And then beside that one, we have overcast, just like this overcast, light bluish gray. It's a really pretty, that's a really pretty neutral that I would use next to a bright. And then we have Seafarer Blue, has a gorgeous kind of turquoise in it. And you can see when I paint, as I've mentioned, I use a lot of pigment. And that helps on camera, right? Just because everything is harder to see. Okay, next we're gonna go into the greens and the browns. Just gonna see if I can hold up my sheet better here. I'm gonna go into Cambrian blue, which is from the second row from the bottom. Oops, I just got a little hair there. I don't want that in our watercolor. So this is, it appears a lot lighter actually than in the palette, that one. And then the next one I love, this is called Glass. And this reminds me of this Canadian company I just discovered. All their paints are non-toxic. Beam paints, B-E-A-M. And they have a color called Robin's Egg, very similar to Glass by the Ocean Paper here, and it's just gorgeous. And then another beautiful surprise color is Mermaid. Oh, this color is just stunning. So just a beautiful, beautiful bright. And then I'm loving the way my little sheet is over here. Whoops. And the beauty of watercolor paper, good paper. I got that big smudge of Mermaid over here. You can just dab it off with water, because it hasn't totally absorbed into the cotton fibers. So I do like to splurge on really good paper. And then the next color is called Epoch Green, which is a really great neutral green. Something just flew off my table. I don't know what that was, but. And then we have Chromium Oxide. And I really like this color, foliage, it's hard to say, like floral foliage, F-O-L-L-I-A-G-E, kind of like leaves, branches, foliage. It's hard to say for me, that's funny. I really like foliage, that color. The next one is Lichen, which is very intuitive. Beautiful. So this around the world color palette does give the most incredible range of brights if you love brights. I love painting with brights. And I don't paint realistic, I paint abstract. So this would be my go-to palette. I'm just seeing the bloom in this Prussian blue. Wow, that's gorgeous. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Prussian blue. I love this canopy green here. And then last but not least, we'll see if we have some space. We're gonna be going into sea clay, mesoic green, fern, golden olive, raw umber, burnt umber, castle earth, and silk gray, which I have a note here, it should be iron black, but that was the one watercolor that had almost very little pigment. I could hardly see it, which is really weird because it was iron black. So I'm not sure what happened there, and I just decided to swap it out. Okay, so I'm gonna go with, again, just see if I can fill this up, sea clay. So landing on my right dominant hand, I'm just so grateful I can paint. That would be paint and not hit my head. Those would be my big fears if I couldn't paint and if I hit my head. Obviously, everything else is not good either, but that fall, I'm gonna have to be more careful. Sort of like the universe is telling me to slow down. I had a really busy art show and I'm really pleased with the way it went, but I've just decided to, you know, do things like swatching and answer more questions coming in from my channel and just doing painting, I feel like, not painting to sell, just taking a little break. So the universe is telling me that because I have a cold as well. I got a cold over Christmas, still have it. And I'm already sidetracking. So fern is where we're at right now. Gorgeous dark green. That is called fern. Beside that is the mesoic green, and then sea clay is that bottom left corner. I don't really do palette reviews. I have no idea what I'm doing, to be honest. I just find this process, I really wasn't looking forward to it. And I had this request from someone from Australia, and I get that you do not want to invest in, you know, fairly costly supplies if, you know, they're just not absolutely wonderful, high quality. And so I do, like I said, I'm not affiliated with any company actually, and I don't plan to be, but I have had customer service challenges with these guys, Ocean Papers, so I don't know if I'll be ordering from them again, but I love their paints. I just think, talk to somebody, I think it's just the two of them, Michelle and Josh, just talk to one of them before you order. That might be the best, is to get a human, because when I had issues, it said that their studio had closed down on Google, and I know that they are in the process, I think, of moving islands and under a lot of change, and I didn't have return phone calls, emails, nothing, and my order said it had been fulfilled, but in fact it was just sitting in the Princeville airport. So they ended up finally getting back to me about 3 months later, and were very apologetic. But I do know a lot of you have reached out and you've also had issues, so I just want to be cautious to say make sure that you connect with a person on the other end, because the paints are wonderful, but you really need to make sure that they get to you after investing in these large palettes. Well, you know, any investment. Okay, I'm sidetracking again. So fern is where we left off, and then golden olive, raw umber, burnt umber, and this one is castle earth, which is a really great neutral. I really like that. And last but not least is this one I have substituted for iron black. This is called silk gray. It's very, very light in color. It reminds me a little bit more of French clay, and but it's a great neutral. So that is the ocean paper around the world watercolor palette, and lots of beautiful, beautiful brights, lots of neutrals, and really great quality. I think this would last a long time. They often have their paints in bamboo palettes as well. This one's not bamboo. I believe they use plant-based paints and not from fossil fuels. I don't know exactly what that means, but I do know, again, I'm gravitating more towards this Canadian company called Beam Paints. So I do plan to do an unboxing video of Beam Paints. Just gonna move this, and you can see right here. Just see if I can. So there's the palette that we had just done. Here's some of our beautiful little sheets that came out of just doing swatching. So instead of dipping back into the water and losing this pigment or using a paper towel, I love to start another painting, or again, do these little lightweight, so 90-pound paper, you know, mark making. I, for some reason, was in this mark making of the brush strokes. So this is very much like the way the brush marks on the paper, and it really is beautiful because I would never have painted like this. I almost see like a little bird head, an eagle head there. I love this. It's almost like an abstract mushroom, and this would be really beautiful cut up. It would be a gorgeous card with, you know, using contrast, maybe an image. I love the shimmer in there. This one as well turned out quite beautifully. And so just moving on, I probably don't have a ton of time, but I just want to show you. Okay, so for Christmas, my son, who's 6, has been really into painting. And so I purchased this little palette that comes right from a cut tree, just like this does. This is my paintbrush holder. And I love it. Beam Paints is a Canadian company. It's an Aboriginal family, Indigenous family from, I think it's called Manitoulin Island, and they use non-toxic paints. And it is a really beautiful company, and the more I have ordered from them, I love, love, love their paints. And so I had splurged because I was waiting for my ocean paper paints to arrive, and it took over 3 months. And so I had ordered some of these sweet little palettes, which are refillable, non-plastic. So I'd purchased these. This one I'm going to gift. This one is for my son, and he loves it. And I also have this little palette that I had purchased as a treat for myself. These are all wrapped in canvas, and they are gorgeous. There's that robin's egg, that blue that reminded me a bit of the ocean paper glass color, and I believe it's a bit more vibrant. So I'm just gonna reorganize my table here for a second, and I just want to show you while we have time. This is what I had done yesterday. And I got this little sticker from them. This is their whole palette, and this is how it comes. It smells like honey. It's absolutely beautiful. It is wax. I believe this is a canvas material, and here are all of the gorgeous colors that they have in their full line. So beam paints in Andec colors, and I have sort of mapped out all of the colors, and I was gonna do a little video where I'm gonna go through each one just like I did, but I just thought I would just show you a few of them here. How am I for time? A half an hour. So the paints that really surprised me were this violet color. It is so rich and vibrant. It was so dark, I had to slightly blot it just to get the writing underneath. So that's violet. I really love pumpkin spice. That's one of my go-to colors. Wet grizzly is such a fun name. Wild salmon is another color I'm in love with. Another one over here, spring green, fiddlehead green, really, really gorgeous colors. And yeah, so I was trying to do a full swatch, and again, while I was waiting for my ocean paper paints, I just discovered my love for these. So in ordering paints again, which I won't need to probably for 20 years, but I am gonna probably stick with this company. Again, non-toxic, Canadian, family-owned, Indigenous, and they the non-toxic part just is really important to me, and I just want to share with you. Oh, there goes one. It came again. It came in this awesome, I believe this is porcelain. So this is gonna be a new palette for my beam paints, and I just can't wait to show you some of these colors. So this is one that had dropped, and this is gold, but they do have an indigenous name which I cannot pronounce, so I'm not gonna try. It's a gold bronze. They're light fast, and they're considered professional paints, and they're beautiful. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of paint in here, these little wrapped canvases, but believe it or not, there is a lot of paint, because my son and I had purchased a few of these before I invested in the big bunch, and we loved a few of the colors and just use them all the time. And let me just see if I can find, I mean, I have been using this robin's egg for, it feels like I use it in all of my work lately, and it looks like it's untouched. So such a gorgeous color. And he now has it in his little kids palette, which was really affordable actually, and amazing customer service from these guys. So I do really highly recommend them. Again, their name is Beam Paints. So B-E-A-M Paints, Canadian, and really, really wonderful colors. Check out, this is one called Orca, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a black gray with a white sparkle. So I feel like I'll probably do maybe an exercise before all my family shows up. Normally I'd be cleaning the house, but I decided today that this is the way that I like to relax. And for the person that had reached out and asked about me swatching out the colors, I hope this video was helpful. Again, I'm not really somebody that teaches swatching or color theory or does reviews. Hopefully there's some other videos that you can find where there's reviews of both the ocean paper and beam paints, and it gives you some choice. Everyone has different opinions, and I really feel the more you paint, the more you get to know what you love. For instance, I only use a size 12 round brush. It really doesn't matter to me so much what the brand is. I do love anything that doesn't use animal products. Princeton is a great company. They don't use animal products in their lines, and their brushes are very affordable and really, really great. But I've tried other watercolor brushes. I just always love the round 12, even when I'm painting small, which is so interesting. But the way it feels in my hand, the way I paint, the way I relax, this is it for me. So I have a go-to brush. I have go-to colors, and when you paint often, you get really familiar with how the colors mix together, and you might not need this big palette with all these choices. You may learn to mix those primary colors, the red, the yellow, and the blue, or your favorite color, sort of. Maybe you love, like, say, magenta. That could be sort of your red. Maybe you love, like me, butter yellow. That could be your yellow. And maybe you love, like, robin's egg or great ocean, and then mixing those, what do you get? And you could just stick with a very, very small palette once you choose some colors that you love. So if I was to try that, again, this isn't the best quality paper, this Canson paper. It's a good starter paper. But, if I was to choose, say, my 3 favorite colors, forgive me if I have to leave you guys suddenly. When the door comes open, it will be crazy here, because I have a little rescue dog that he's going to be barking, and it's going to be all about family. So this is so fun that I got to do this with you, though. So let's just say this is Cherry Magenta. Such a gorgeous color from Beam Paints. So say that was your favorite, and then you're gonna clean your brush, and I'm gonna dip into, say, my butter yellow. This paper does not do it justice. And then I'm gonna put this one here, and before that dries, we're just gonna mix that color to get our neutral. And then I'm gonna do, feels funny dipping into my water glass right now. Tomorrow I'll probably have water and then by mistake dip into it again. So I have my red, my yellow, and then say my blue is, I might use, I don't know, I might use this gray. Oh, where's my Prussian blue? I'll just use, I really like this. This is called Cloud, and it's a very, very beautiful blue. So say you just invested, you went to your local art store. So here in Calgary, Alberta, whether it's Kensington Art Supply or Destination Art or Inglewood, invest in sort of a reddish color, a yellow color, and a blue color, and mixing those together, what do you get? So that's sort of like a greenish, a beautiful kind of greenish neutral. This is sort of a peachy yellow. And then if we were to mix, what did I forget? I'm tired today. So I mix those two, and I mix that one, and then I'll mix the blue, right, the blue and the magenta, the cherry red. This is not usually how I mix paint on my sheet. And I used a little bit too much of that cherry, so I'm gonna go back and use more of the blue, and I'll probably get like a purple. Ooh, that's really cool. So just from those 3 colors, you know, you can get so much if you really get into color mixing and figure out what you love. So, you know, just gonna add a little bit more in here. And then maybe add a bit more of a yellow, that buttery yellow again. And just seeing the colors, what we get. I don't know what I'm doing today, but I'm relaxing and enjoying this process, which is what art is all about. So I really have a desire to drip that guy. Just to drip that down. And I would use this as a back of another painting. Paint over it maybe with acrylics or something. And the other little exercise that I was hoping to do, if I had time, just gonna give myself a bit of space. It's just this exercise in choosing your favorite color and maybe adding, I'm gonna add another bright color beside it. I'm using my ocean paper palette right now. And then I want to add in a neutral just to really highlight the brights. So for me, I start with a color craving exercise. What am I loving? And then this orca, this sort of black, shimmery, dark gray, I want this to be my neutral. I don't love purple, and I know that if I touch the pink with this, it would probably become more of a purple, so I'm not gonna do that. But I am just kind of using this color to break up and highlight the brights. So now that I've done that, I'm gonna go to maybe a more matte color, so not a shimmery one. So this one is Slate Gray by Beam Paints. And I'm just gonna put that in here. And then I'm gonna go back and figure out, because I love brights. I mean, this exercise probably wouldn't work as well if you don't love brights in your work. But to highlight the brights, the benefits of adding neutrals, it's quite amazing. So let's just go with this Salish Sea, this gorgeous green. Just gonna put it in over here and maybe even let it blend with some of the neutrals. Because when you let the bright blend with the neutral, it will kind of downplay how vivid it is. And I like to sometimes with the brights go for an analogous color. I'm just going to use a bit more of a bright here just to highlight what I'm doing. So the way I like to paint is, so I would choose a color similar, an analogous color, similar to the color I just used on the color wheel, but not quite the same, as sort of a way again to break up what I'm doing. But now I want to go back and add something more neutral. You can have, it doesn't have to be black, white, Titan buff, gray. It can be like a green. You know, this might be enough of a neutral to blend in with that Salish Sea, that bright turquoise, just to make it more appealing to the eye. So I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but when I paint, and if you sort of appreciate the style, my style, which I call my art poetry paintings, essentially I'm color craving. What color, what brights am I really feeling in the moment? And how can I get those down just really loosely with my round brush, the brush I'm most comfortable with? And how can I kind of get in those bright colors, but not have them overpower the entire painting? Because if I could paint with the whole rainbow, I would. There, I just added, that's way too much yellow up there for my liking, but that's okay. I really like gray next to bright pinks, pale pinks. I'm gonna try and find, this is again, I'm going back to slate gray from my Beam paints. Normally I use a palette, but I'm just not gonna do that today. I'm just lucky nobody's come to the door yet. It's probably getting close. Really looking forward to having family in that I haven't seen for a while over the holidays here. And I have an excuse because I have a cold and I fell. I'm like, it's not all about having a clean house. I'm just gonna take care of myself and be selfish. I tend to be a people pleaser, and I sometimes have high expectations of myself, and what I want to do is just dial that down. Because if you don't look after yourself, you're no good to anybody, right? And now I'm, of course, tuning out what I'm doing, and I'm just narrating sort of more about my creative life versus what I'm painting, which is what painting does to my brain. I just tune out, I stay present, and I just love being with you all. So here I have these really, really brights mixed with neutrals. I love to go back in with matte colors, so not as much shimmer, and kind of mix those in. When the painting dries, I reevaluate it, and sometimes I put in, layers. Watercolor is amazing because you can layer. This is Wild Salmon. It's one of my favorite kind of shimmery coral colors. And of course, my water is not that clean right now, so I think I'm doing okay though. I want to go to my Robin's Egg, this matte, light turquoisey color, which is called Glass in the Ocean Paper Around the World palette, but here in Beam paints, it's called Robin's Egg, and I love that. I'm really craving some darks, more of like dark browns. This is Castle Earth right here that I'm dipping into from the Ocean Paper. So I'm just gonna, excuse me, add in more darks kind of through the middle here. And maybe extend it a bit, almost like a landscape. Using a lot of water. And if I can tilt. And so what else can I do? So I like to add contrast to my work. So, more lights make the lights lighter, make the darks darker. Just gonna add some dark through here. I'm adding interest, and again, I'm adding darks around some of those bright colors. And I'm not really even thinking about what this looks like. I'm just enjoying the process of getting the color down with a little bit of color theory under my belt, but really not much. I didn't go to art school. I worked as a registered nurse, and this is just, it's become my art therapy. So my experience is from the doing, from painting as much as I can, almost every day, and loving the process. So I don't do it if I'm not loving what I'm doing. I'm really, really lucky that I have found this. And I really wish everybody could find something that they love that's also meditative, relaxing, gives them that dopamine, without being, I think, we all turn to, whether it's like food or alcohol or, things that aren't good for us. And this gives me that same, almost like I get like a painter's high. I used to run. I can't run anymore. And that's okay because I have painting, but when I'm painting, I just feel so good. Right now, I'm not telling you what I'm doing because I'm so in the moment. I'm just adding in contrast and making, again, more of the lights lighter, the darks darker, and just what I'm feeling. So I have a bit of, I was cleaning my brush over here, which isn't a big deal to me because I can make that part of the painting. And I know I don't have the best lighting today, so I'll probably sign off with you all. My water is getting really dirty. Just kind of zoom you out for a second here. Let me see. So there we are. So I feel like this just makes me so happy. I see almost like a butterfly in here. I see a landscape, I see colors that I would not have normally chosen, whereas I started the painting with colors I love, but I often don't use that gorgeous turquoise, that Salish sea, or what you would call teal. This is, I think, called Lake Huron teal and Salish sea mixed together from Beam Paints. I love adding this matte, that buttery yellow in here because it just sort of expanded. And yeah, this, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's commented, and I really appreciate the nudge to do a swatch with you all, because that process of making swatches it's actually so relaxing, and it will totally benefit my art practice now that I can paint and I know the names. And I'm not just looking at this palette, because sometimes when you're looking at a palette, it really looks different once you get it on your paper. So thank you to the beautiful human that reached out from Australia. I hope I have answered your questions in where you want to invest your money, at least, you know, maybe with Beam Paints, maybe with ocean paper, maybe with neither of them, maybe with both. And I have done so many swatches that I'll go through more of them shortly. Again, here's that Beam Paint swatch. And yeah, so thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to get to more videos just as the holiday season dials down and my family's back to work and school. So thank you so much for staying with me, and I hope you all enjoy creating.